This is the Unstarving Musicians Podcast, and I am your host, Rabanzo. On this podcast, I feature conversations with indie music artists, industry professionals, musicians, all to help other indie artists be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love. Make music. Hey, that was pretty good, huh? Welcome back, and I hope you're doing well in this weird time. I'm doing pretty good today. A book I'm reading, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, is helping me cope a little bit. I'll leave a link for that in the show notes. I think it is worth your checking out. I also listen to a lot of podcasts. This Week in Virology, The Tim Ferriss Show, WTF with Mark Maron, The Portal with Eric Weinstein, Joe Rogan occasionally, and The Feed, the official Libsyn podcast about podcasting. If you are a podcaster, you should check it out. It's free. You don't have to use Libsyn to listen to it, and they really provide a lot of helpful info. Yeah, it's a beautiful day in Panama today. After what was like winter yesterday, it was only 24 Celsius or about 76 Fahrenheit, but I'm telling you, here in the tropics, that's like winter. The dog got a much-needed bath today. He molds in the rainy season, so that was a good thing. This is another Alt-in-Between episode, one of a three-part series related to the world of online music collaboration, which has turned out to be much more than I expected. There are a number of truly innovative and interesting approaches happening. Hey, would you like to support the podcast? It's pretty easy to do. One of the things you can do is just subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you catch your podcasts. This one is in a bunch of places. I don't want to say it's everywhere because there's new places popping up all the time, but definitely subscribing helps if you're on one of those services. I know that Spotify doesn't do that subscription thing. I don't think they're really streaming it. It's a spotcast on Spotify. The other thing you can do is check out my crowd sponsor page at unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor. There, you can become a supporter through donations, and that is how I keep this podcast going, through the generosity of listeners like you. I'm opening up opportunities for supporters to be producers, executive producers. What does that mean? Well, I'm working that out. Probably get mentioned on the show, on the website too. And I'm also opening up special sponsorships for people that want to support that way and maybe get a service or business recognized here on the podcast. As long as it aligns with the podcast and the listeners therein, it is definitely something I'm interested in. So anyway, yes, check out unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn more about that. The topic of this episode, again, is online collaboration. It's related to my next article. My guests, Alicia Rius and Arnau Bosch, have a cool startup called SoundStorming. It is an app that lets you share ideas right from your iPhone. I believe coming to Android soon. Lets you collaborate and connect with community that they have built. This is one of the interesting approaches to online collaboration that I've discovered recently. They believe that this will feed the next iteration of the music industry, this type of community sharing and collaboration, and that it's a place where a new breed of fans become part of the creative process. I like it because I agree that it has the potential of reimagining music discovery. Certainly, collaboration and fan engagement opportunities are there. So by the way, do you have an artist or band website? And if you do, is it one you're happy with? If not, I want you to check out Bandzoogle. It's the easiest all-in-one pro website platform for musicians and bands. And I care because it's one of a couple things you can do to ensure that you are in control of your music business and your fan-based community. A solid website will help you do that. And the other thing is your email list, and Bandzoogle can actually help you with that too. Go to bandzoogle.com to start a 30-day free trial and use the promo code Rabanzo to get 15% off your first year. Plans start at just $8.29 a month, It's really easy to use. I use it. I love it. You can see my website at robonzo.com. I need to get in there and tweak it some. Haven't been in there in a while, but I get compliments on it. A buddy of mine who is a solo artist asked me what template I was using because we've both used WordPress for a long time, and I'm still a WordPress designer, but I had to try this out because I wanted you guys to try it out. But I told him Bandzoogle, so I think he's going to check it out too. You don't have to worry about, the thing about Bandzoogle is you don't have to worry about plugins and security updates, things like that. They take care of that for you. Like I said, it's easy. See for yourself. Go to bandzoogle.com, use the promo code Robonzo, ROBONZO, to start your free trial today. So Alicia Rius was featured in episode 53. I'll put a link to that conversation in the show notes. And in that conversation, we discussed the inception of SoundStorming, among other things. Her partner, Arnau, who's predominantly featured in this episode, he himself is a music creator. He's very passionate about music and what he's doing at SoundStorming, what he and Alicia are building at SoundStorming, and just everything about music. They love it. In this discussion, we talk about who's using their service, trends that they find interesting, changes to their usage, the service's usage, changes brought about by the COVID crisis of 2020, the future of online collaboration, and more. All right, here is me and Arnau Bosch with Alicia Rius of SoundStorming. Enjoy. I was going to say Alicia, and I talked a little bit about this, but I'd love to hear it again in case things are changing. I know things do change rapidly, but I wanted to ask what type of musicians are using your service. Can you describe that aspect?
So yeah, we right now, as our launch was focusing on the early adopters, it was around music schools and upcoming artists, those who are entering the new industry. Our majority of artists are those who are really looking into new ways to communicate with the industry, new ways to really express themselves, find ways to be heard, find other people to collaborate. So this is the artist kind of artists that we've been having going on, especially in the last couple of months. We are starting to really start getting more into the professional musicians. We're in conversations with A&R and other artists who already have some kind of a fan base, the beginnings of a fan base, and they need some kind of a new way to engage with the audience. I mean, as you can see, especially after this pandemic, there's definitely a need for new platforms to help artists to communicate and really express and really find a way to talk to their audiences in new ways. And there's, as you mentioned in the article, there's a lot of platforms that help open their creative process and open their journey. So those artists who are looking for those spaces are the ones that we're starting to get introducing our platform to. This is kind of the two spaces that we are right now.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I was going to ask as a follow-up to that, Arnau, was that part you guys doing some active outreach to A&R and other outlets, and part, the natural receptivity of people to look at this new way of collaborating and expressing themselves, as you say, because of the COVID crisis?
I mean, I think that it was natural in a way that we saw a wave of artists trying to find new ways to communicate and find new people to play music with and have an open network. But at the same time, you start seeing artists sharing beats and asking for feedback and asking for what opinions about what they're building and what they're working on. So inevitably, you start seeing a little bit of a intention to address to the audience, not just the music community, but actually their fans in a way. And again, we're talking about a music industry that nowadays fans and music makers is kind of a blur line. It feels like artists and fans needs to be really involved in the same process, as you can see in some other platforms. But fans and audiences wants to really get involved with the process. So inevitably, we realize that we should start really curating those artists and find ways that they can use our channels to speak to those audiences and those fans. And that obviously it's serving them not just in terms of the connections in the music industry, but actually new fans and new people that they didn't heard about them before. So we're starting to work into the growing fan base and really nurturing them and involving them.
Can you elaborate any further on the audience, the fan participation piece? Like
Yeah.
what are they particularly interested in now?
I mean, I think, in my opinion, everything. Even reading from your article, I think the the bigger thought over all this is that the music industry has turned into an always-on industry. It doesn't really allow. It's a constant changing market. It doesn't really allow artists to go off for 5 months working on their thing, come back and expecting the audience going to be waiting for the new hit. It actually demands a constant communication. It's always changing. They need new things every minute. So that means that you, as an artist, and consider yourself as a brand, you really have to be in constant communication and get as much feedback and know more your fans as much as possible. So that's, to me, it's already opening a little bit of a door of like, wait, we are not really talking about like a passive listeners anymore. We're talking about those listeners who really want to get in the process in some way or another, and not just listening and liking and commenting, but what else can I add? Is it giving them beats that they can riff off and create a little bit of a new versions of it? Is it them actually collaborating on some beats from the artist? And that's the reason why we start building around SoundStorming, right? To see that potential of like, wait a minute, it's a constant changing industry, and you need to be closer to your fans. And at the same time, those social platforms that are out there are really a distraction. It makes you, if you really analyze how it works right now on social media platforms, we spend 70% of thinking about what's going to be the next picture of Instagram, how I can put myself on TikTok, what should I talk to a friend of mine to help me do a video. And the reality is like, you are less making and more thinking about marketing nowadays is as important as making, because you need content to really be promoting, right? So that's why those platforms that are based in community driven and fan based supporters, like you mentioned in the article, again, Patreon and all those, are really helping that space, and really helping the audience to allow them to keep making music, but at the same time use that to communicate with their audience. And I think that's what opens space to platforms that, again, helps you mix with new beats that the artist gives to you as an exclusive, helps you collaborate and really create a song with them, like we do on SoundStorming and other platforms that are on that space.
So is it fair to say then that we're talking about a new type of fan, a new breed of fan? They're like, because you mentioned the fan as a collaborator, potential collaborator. It is a new breed of fan, isn't it?
I completely agree. I think that I think as listeners right now, we really want to get involved, and that doesn't mean really. I mean, nowadays you can make music with everything, and everybody can try it, and doesn't really need to be an expert of it. There's a lot of tools that help you make you, but at the same time, there's just for the sense of you being involved. Again, going back to a little bit of the marketing and making together, if you are involved on the process and you can affect in some way or another, and you take some decisions, those fans really become more like a super fans. You go from involved fans to super fans, and those super fans at the end of the day are the ones who are going to buy shirts, who are going to buy exclusive content on Patreon, who are going to support you on those platforms like Patreon. So I think that at the end of the day, we're helping them to grow and involve their fans, and at the end of the day, it results into monetization at the same time.
Cool. So there'll be many of these new types of fans will be the new super fan. Then sounds like quite possibly.
That's how I see this new industry. I think that, and you can see it in other medias, like for instance TikTok, right? Not everybody's a dancer, but everybody wants to try it. You know what I mean? Not everybody feels like filming themselves and join on a chain, but there's this new thing. Hey, let me give it a try and see, and suddenly you become part of this culture movement. I think we should look into the music industry the same way. Like, it's not really about musicians and people who professionally make music. It's about people who are part of this community movement and can really be part of something that it makes you feel closer to the people that you follow.
That's fascinating. Are there, so this is one of the things I was going to ask both of you, is if there were any interesting trends happening in the ecosystem of online collaboration. And I think you just described one for me. Are there any other interesting trends that you see in the whole, I say the ecosystem because I mean even beyond SoundStorming, do you see anything interesting happening that you're keeping a close eye on?
I mean, I obviously there's a couple of platforms that I've been fascinated by, like Endless, which I was seeing that they are developing IPA that you want to be able to play it from Pro Tools and other programs. all those tools that really help musicians to make in collaborations in the I always, obviously, my passion always been music, and I've always been trying to be involved as much as possible with the music making process. So there's plenty of those. To me, one trend that I've been more interested by, more than actually just collaborating at the same time, but there's this new wave of audio center platform. There's this, suddenly Twitter actually allow you to submit audio and post audio recordings. There's this new social platform that I forgot the name. I think it's called Clubhouse, that allows you to share just voice recordings and use just voice as a media, little piece of media nugget that allows you to communicate. And I think that obviously it speaks a lot about what we're tapping with SoundStorming, right? I think that opens doors of a space that music should be the lead on that. And that's why I think for us, it's something that we're trying to keep an eye on it and try to really evolve and try to be part of that, not just the collaboration side. But again, I'm a music fanatic and a music maker, and I try to really get involved and try all of them that I see.
Yeah, interesting. And the answer to this one may be obvious, but I wanted to ask, has the COVID crisis, well, maybe it's not that obvious, but has the COVID crisis changed usage of your platform?
Yeah, right. I mean, before everything happened, I mean, we were already promoting SoundStorming as a remote collaboration platform. But definitely, I think we gained more users and more traction because people had this need of offering a deeper experience to their fans. They were also looking for ways to keep, being creative and collaborating with other musicians. And it also happened at that time that we were being featured in some publications, and that got us a new wave of users joining our community.
Yeah, I want to add to that. Obviously, the pandemic, especially not specifically talking from the point of view of our platform, SoundStorming, but in general, I think it has opened every artist's minds in a way that they don't really have the resources to really produce tracks. They really have to find other ways to keep talking. Again, they are sitting in their houses. They make music. They really have to find ways to talk to their audiences. And you start seeing things that prior the pandemic you would have probably never seen, like live performance from a living room from big names and big bands, and showing up and see the dog behind the camera and the kids and the family, and really even making music on a live stream that you can really see it and watch, like things that I believe artists were not really cool with that, and they were more protective about what they do. I think that behavior is open their minds and realizing that as fans, we love to have a new perspective of what they do, really get involved on their journey and understand what they do, and in a way be part of that. And now that they see that it has results and it get results and keeps the communication with the fans going, I think that it's going to help platforms, not like just like ours, but any platform that is in that space, and open new doors in collaborations, communication with music, artist, fan relationship. I think it's going to be for the better.
Is there anything that you haven't already said? I think you touched on a lot of my questions just in your opening comments, both of you, but is there anything else to be said in your eyes about the future of online music collaboration?
I mean, I was reading the article and I was really fascinated to all the topics that you were touching, and I was really intrigued. And I think the only thing that I wanted to add, and I probably touched it in some of the answers, but basically is not just the importance of nowadays with this new music industry, is not just as important as marketing themselves and really be savvy on social media and mail and partnerships, which again, as you point out on your article, DIY musicians been doing it forever, so they are ahead of the other ones who've been more behind the big labels and the big brands. But at the same time is the importance about making, right? Like even if the communication has to happen daily and multiple times, but making a song, it takes time. They really need to focus on rounds of months sometimes to create a song that they can then through distribution share it with their fans and promote it. So all those platforms who help them create content, and I don't want to say song because it's not even a song yet. Is it collaboration? Is it sharing a beat? Is it opening a making process? All those platforms that at the same time they keep making, but they help to invite the audience in that process. I think they are key on this new generation of music industry.
Okay. In this article that I'm working on, knowing that it's going to focus on online music collaboration, is there anything that either of you would like to learn from the article that maybe something you're curious about but haven't quite found the answer to, that maybe I can in the conversations that I have or the research that I do?
I mean, one of the questions that we, and not just questions, like things that we've been wrestling with ourselves when we talk about those platforms, like not as much as the Patreon that really speaks to the fans, but actually the more the making tools, like the collaborating tools that you refer into the article. It's really intrigued, but to me, it would be really interesting to understand a little bit of the market space that they're tapping, right? When I speak about Endless is more electronic DJ driven, and it allows you to mix songs from other artists in the community. So when we really specifically go at the music making platforms, and it speaks really specifically about the people who makes music, I wonder how big is the market that they're tapping in, and how many real makers are there. I think that this is something that we always, when we look into those platforms that go just specifically about making music, it's a big question mark. It's hard to really define what does that mean right now when you have a phone and an app that allows you to make music. Like, how do you know how many people is going to get excited about that, right?
Yeah. Okay, so just to restate the question and make sure I got it right, you would be interested to know the different marketplaces that others that are creating platforms or have an existing platform for this, what markets are they tapping into, and if possible to know how big those markets are. Okay,
exactly. Yeah, I think that's really that in my head. I mean, there's plenty of platforms that are helping artists make music, right? There's a lot of different tools that go from your phone to your computer to big software engineer that you have in studios. So I'm always being curious to see what are the different sizes depending on what the type of tool. There are some that are more like a game looking kind of thing that allows people with a simple tap to make something, and there's some others that really challenging from people who hasn't been making music in ever.
Yeah. Is there anything you think I should create awareness about that would help both artists and the online collaboration space?
Yes, I think Arnau, maybe we can just discuss. I mean, like any business, now we keep evolving, but I think here is a good opportunity to talk about how, with SoundStorming, we are creating this true engagement and the benefits of it. You and I were having the conversation this morning. Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean,
go deeper?
Yes, one of the main focus that we're having on SoundStorming is really finding what are we solving for the artists, right? Knowing that there's this always on industry, but they are struggling to keep their focus on making music because they have to do so many different things and learn so many different methods to really market themselves. And for us, one thing that we define ourselves is we are creating this true engagement. We believe that inviting your audience to your creative process is the key of SoundStorming. And what we believe it's going to be benefit for them is that by opening your creative process with music recordings, as we're doing on SoundStorming, allows you to record ideas and share them publicly. It first of all, it gives you a constant daily communication with your fans, which, as we said, is a constant changing industry, and they change daily. So by using those ideas as little pieces of entertainment, it allows you to speak to them and communicate and understand really what they need to create a better product for them. And by doing that, as I referred on another answer that you asked, this is making you grow your audience because you're keeping them involved in the process. And by being and staying involved, they become the super fans, which means that when you open the doors to merchandising and other types of income, those are the first one who's going to really dig in and be part of that. And the best part of it is actually allows you to stay productive. It allows you to keep making music while you use these bits and pieces of music to merchandise yourself and really put you out there at the same time that you're being productive. So I think those three are the key benefits on SoundStorming and the core of our platform.
That's cool. I really like that. I tried a different platform that to me seemed well suited to explore, and it also happens to be one that I had an interview with one of the founders, and it's Compose.
I don't know it. I'm gonna find.
They're more of a web-based. It's Compose with a K and a Z.
All right.
It's more of a web-based platform where players, I say players as opposed to maybe electronic musicians, but players go on there and record stuff, and they invite collaboration. So the first time I went on to look around, I ran across a guy who was doing something that was pretty well reminiscent of prog rock, kind of like the group Yes, and it was all keyboards, and I thought, I'd love to put some drums on that. So for me, this kind of platform made sense because I very recently set myself up at home to record acoustic drums, and so that's one that I've looked at. I see SoundStorming is a beautiful place for, like, maybe next time I want to do. I started the demo on my song I'm working on now on the acoustic guitar, so nice. I can see it's a beautiful place for doing something like that. And I'm looking forward to all the other ones, but there's a couple of others I ran across that I had no idea. I don't know if you've heard of oh man, now I'm forgetting.
Yeah, there's so many.
It's like it's got the word hum and tap. And they use AI. So if you're not a player of an instrument, you can literally hum and, like, say, for instance, play percussion taps on your desk or your chest, and it will record that. And then you tell it the style that you want, and it will create something for you, so you can have a basis for a song.
And you tried it? You tried that up?
Not yet. I'm looking forward to it, but I thought, okay, I need to come up with a tune to hum to try that. But I really do want to try it.
Yeah, I would love to really test the result and see how good it is. I'm sure. I mean, all those AI world is so new to me, and when we mix it with music, which is a creative field, my brain always goes to, like, it's gonna be predictive. It's gonna be something that I've heard, and I start reading about it, and it's really impressive how it helps not just making music for people who doesn't make music, but actually helps the first steps of creating a song. Like, you can utilize that as a trigger of ideas and start building from scratch, and then you can jump on it and evolve it as a musician. But apparently there's a really new market for those, and I'm really curious to try any of those that are on that space.
Well, I'm trying to put it in the chat, but it's not working. But it is called HumTap, and their website is humtap.com. Sorry, not .ai. HumTap. And Compose, it's KOMPOZ.com. That one's kind of interesting too. And those Compose has been around quite a while. I just thought I'd share this with you. It's so interesting, all the different things that are happening.
Yeah, it is. It is incredible, and I think it's fascinating. It's for some might be that it's so crowded and such, but at the same time, we are in a process that they're gonna open doors to new ways of listening music and discovering. I think that what's more important is really open your minds into music that you haven't heard before, that you probably love, but we're so into this streaming service of 50 million songs and a couple of playlists that tells you this is what you should listen, that having these platforms, it really helps you discover new music that you didn't know. I think that's the key for I'm really excited.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, I thank you both for joining me again. If you think of anything that you think might be worth sharing with others or contemplating, both for the article and for the podcast, let me know. And I'll let you know when I am going to have a kind of a mini episode come out for our conversation. And
nice.
Then you're very likely, SoundStorming is very likely to end up being mentioned in the article because I've been following you, and now you've been on the podcast twice. So.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the interest, the effort, and if you keep writing more articles about that, I will dig in and try to follow as much as possible. But I would love every time you share it with us. I think that this really helps us. It not just is interesting, but it helps us to really understand more the industry. So we really appreciate the work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And I had no idea once. I think because Alicia and I spoke the first time, and I started looking around for this article after our conversation. And I just, like I said, I'm finding all these different approaches and platforms. Some of them, like Compose, has been around quite a while, and many, of course, new ones coming up. So it's fascinating for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you guys have a great afternoon. I will definitely speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. This episode was powered by ConvertKit, which is more than just an email marketing company. ConvertKit is focused on landing pages too, giving beginner creators everything they need to start building their email lists. I've been using ConvertKit since early 2016 and I love it. Their new free plan allows creators to make unlimited landing pages and forms. You can choose from multiple templates, add personalization and design, and much, much more. The support is great, which is super important. You can learn more about ConvertKit and how they can help you connect with your audience so you can make a living doing the work you love by going to unstarvingmusician.com/convert or the show notes for this episode. Hey, thanks for listening. If you have feedback, comments, suggestions, or questions about the podcast, my guests, me, visit unstarvingmusician.com/feedback. You can leave me a quick voicemail right there on that page, right from your browser. All my other contact info is there too, and I would love to hear from you. You can find links, by the way, for just about everything mentioned in this episode in the show notes at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. Thank you again for listening. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you sharing it with your musician friends and fellow indie music fans. Peace, gratitude, and a whole lot of love.